Oms like we did last night, and then I'll chant the Om Namah Shivaya Gurave mantra, and we'll do 3 more Oms. We'll do melodic Oms. So I'll inhale. this evening is about the different branches of yoga. And we're going to look at them in regards to the Yoga Sutras. So the mantra we just chanted, Om Namah Shivaya, Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye, Nishprapanchaya Shantaya, Niralambaya Tejase. It relates to a couple schools of yoga. And because it's a mantra practice, could be considered a Bhakti practice. Now I'm going to explain Bhakti more in a minute for those who aren't familiar with that. And its statement is claiming the undual truth, which is a Jnana Yoga statement. Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. These are the attributes of reality according to the non-dualistic school of yoga. So with that. So last night I was talking about how we were going to go on this journey, and the whole journey relates to the present moment. And the Yoga Sutras, last night, Ataha Yoganushashanam, now begins the teaching of yoga. So seemingly simple declaration that you're about to give a teaching, but actually a profound call to the present moment. And last night I talked about that, but then today, as we did the yoga poses, the breath work, the qigong, walking meditation, seated meditation, all the things I said last night that we would do. We did all those things. And then all of those things, we had the opportunity to come back to the present moment. And in the present moment, we find Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the mind. So, in my mind, the Yoga Sutras, if you read that first verse, Ataha, now, and if you're already there, you're done with the whole book. You don't even need to read anything. You're done with the Yoga Sutras, just with the first word, now. So if you get that and then you're there, then you're done. But for the rest of us who usually have tendencies to wander here and there, we have the whole rest of the text that we get to study. So like that, we have the whole yoga system and all of its branches. And so today, during the first longer seated section, I had a really deep meditation. It was very one-pointed in the morning session. In the afternoon session, I got like a chart appeared in my head and a class came to my mind. And so the byproduct of my busy mind in meditation is here before us. The good news is I was very quiet and very blissful the first section. So with that, we have in the upper right-hand corner, my right hand, you have that right hand for it, it's your guys' left hand, right? So, kinds of yoga. So we could also say branches. Kinds is kind of like, I didn't really want to use that word, that's why I put it in brackets. But I should really have written branches of yoga. So, let me see here. Now I know you guys, the people who are here earlier, you guys have already been charted once today, right? There's another speaker that did a big chart. So, sorry, we're going to do another chart. I don't know what colors to use. I was kind of hoping I could make it kind of fun. Okay, so I'm thinking kind of like Jeopardy. This half the room I know knows a lot more about this topic, so maybe we should mix up the room. So we have these up along here, we've got these, and there's more than just what we have here. We have Bhakti, Karma, Jnana, Hatha, and Raja Yogas. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now within these 5 yogas, we could say really within more of like a classical Indian context, it's really Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana is the essence of yoga. Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, definitely important, and it's actually more what's popular in the Western world, popular through the whole planet today, really. But when we get back to the essence of yoga, it's Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana. So, these are Sanskrit words, right? So, here we are again. Oh no, Sanskrit. What color do you guys think I should use? Black, green, red, or blue?
Blue.
Blue? Okay. Come on, she said blue, so there, sure. Do what your mom says. Okay, so karma. Anybody, any guesses what karma means? That's going to be the easiest one for the newer people. Karma, it's in John Lennon songs. Instant karma's going to get you. So karma means
Action.
action. So very simple translation. I'm trying to do big bold. So it's the yoga of action. What's that mean? We'll get there in a minute. Okay, so we have Bhakti. Oh, I left the T off of Bhakti. Let's fix that really quick. Shows where my mind was. Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. So what's that mean? We'll get there in a minute or two. Okay, and then there's Jnana Yoga, sometimes spelled Gyana, Jnana. Technically, with the way that transliterations are supposed to be done, this is the accurate way to spell it. But Jnana, how would you say it, Kamakshi? Gyan. Yeah, you can leave the A off. Sanskrit, you have the A. Modern Hindi and stuff like that, they drop the A. But in Sanskrit, it's Jnana. So, but Gyan. Translation? Knowledge. Or wisdom. I'm going to use wisdom. We could also say knowledge. Okay, my handwriting is like not my strongest suit, so knowledge, wisdom, knowledge. Okay, so action, devotion, action, and knowledge. That sounds like it could be like March 31st, 2020. There's something about marketing, they like to give people things in threes. So, okay. So, we'll start out with action. Action. So it means to do. Anything that you do, you're creating a karma, a cause and effect. So when we have karma yoga is the process of releasing, it's creating good merits through good actions on the first level. And on the second level, it is being free of attachment to the fruits of your action. Being free from the attachment. So you act, you do, but you don't do because you think you get. You give to give, and you just do for the sake of doing. So that's the simple process of karma. Now karma yoga actually, in the old ancient texts, it has a lot to do with rituals, actually. The actions that they would take in ritual to try to create good energy. And people still do those kinds of practices, fire ceremonies, things like that. Yagyas, puja, all these different think of Indian cultural ceremonies. That is all technically under karma yoga and bhakti yoga mixed, but it's these actions that you take. But for everyone, for all humans, It's taking actions and not being attached to the fruit of your labors. Now, for the theistic-minded person, you could say you give it to God. For a person who's not so much into the God concept, you could say, I see that I am programmed by society and I'm not actually acting as an individual, and so I know I'm not that anyways, and so when I take these actions, I let go of the fruits. So it's a little bit more complicated, which lands us in Jnana Yoga. So basically, from Karma Yoga, you can approach Karma Yoga with the attitude of a jnani, someone who inquires into what is the nature of my mind, what is the nature of my sense organs, who am I, what is the nature of the soul, what is God, why am I here? So Jnana Yoga wrestles with all of these big questions. So within karma and jnana, we have like an approach. We take action, but we inquire into who am I? What is the nature? Why am I making this action? How can I let go of the fruits of my actions? For the Bhakti person, they say, I'm taking action and I'm giving it all to God. I'm giving it all to God. So in the yoga system, they say that the devotion, is actually a safer route because it's easier to let go of your ego through a devotional attitude than it is from an analytical attitude. Because you're often just might get stuck in your thinking along the way. Where if you just give it to God, you give it to God. Now, they also say in the yoga system that Jnana Yoga is the most effective. So there's always these things in the yoga system where they say, this one's the best, and then they'll say, no, actually this one's the best, and they're all the best. But the thing is actually what is your disposition? And so then you need to follow what's in your disposition. So as you can see, all of these bhakti, karma, and jnana, you can see they're all kind of mental, if you will. It's not so much like a physical, karma yoga is physical, and your brain is moving, so it's physical on that level, but it's not like breathing in, breathing out. It's not like that, like what we were doing today with the qigong and all that. So, bhakti, karma, and jnana yoga are explained in what major yogic text? 300 points.
The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali.
It's true, they're kind of in the Yoga Sutras, but they're not explicitly in the Yoga Sutras. And we're going to go over that. We're going to go over what they say in the Yoga Sutras. It's a very popular text. Your neighbors like it. Did that help?
My neighbors like it?
Mm-hmm.
The Bhagavad Gita.
The Bhagavad Gita. Have you guys ever heard the Bhagavad Gita? Okay, so we're going to just put major text. I'm just going to put BG for Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita has a chapter dedicated to each one of these topics. So I wrote on the Facebook, anybody who catches this on Facebook, this is for homework for people. So especially yoga teachers who don't learn this stuff often, this will give you things if you want to go and do more research. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita. Okay, we're going to stay on the Yoga Sutras. So the Yoga Sutras, I was saying this last night, they're considered a darshana, which means a direct download of the state of truth, which we translate as philosophy. So darshana means philosophy. So yoga comes from the Yoga Sutras, which is the text on yoga philosophy. The Bhagavad Gita is the story of Krishna, and Krishna is considered to be the yoga avatar. So an incarnation of yoga. Avatar, there's a movie, Avatar. So Avatar is like Jesus is considered an avatar. Buddha, Krishna, Rama, forgetting the other ones. There's other ones that are like further back in Hindu history. But so an incarnation of God. So Krishna, who's in the Bhagavad Gita, is considered to be a full expression of living yoga. He was like the avatar of yoga. So the Yoga Sutras was written by Patanjali, who is considered to be a rishi or a sage. So he was an enlightened person He wasn't God incarnate. There's a little bit of a difference. So don't worry about that too much. Okay, so in the Yoga Sutras, there's a couple terms that bring up bhakti, karma, and jnana. And we talked about it in the yoga teacher training. So it's in the second chapter, first verse. Tapaha svadhyaya ishvara pranidhanava kriya yoga is the Sanskrit. So this translates as austerity, tapaha, svadhyaya, self-study, and devotional surrender to God are action in yoga. Those are the actions that you can take in yoga. So people liken those three things, so Jeopardy. This is what happens, like you make me meditate for a whole day and then I'll get like a grid in my brain. My right nostril is probably open. That's an inside yoga joke, but okay, so devotional surrender to God falls under which category? Does devotional surrender to God fall under Jnana Yoga? No. I mean, it can, but it's not like primarily what it's all about. Does devotional surrender relate to Karma Yoga? Bhakti. Okay, so let's see. Let's see how we do this. So, Ishvara Pranidhanana. I might have spelled it wrong. It's kind of small. People on Facebook probably can't see it. Ishvara means either God or goddess. It can mean either. Pranidhanana, so like wow, this like major surrender. It's not like, oh, I surrender. It's like full surrender. And they say in the Yoga Sutras, if you can completely surrender, instant enlightenment. It's the shortcut route. Now, can you actually? Is the devotional nature that stoked, that fired up, that you're going to be able to just surrender all the way? So that's when you hear about these people that have spontaneous awakenings, things like that. Sometimes they're so depressed with life, often, that the full awakening comes in a flash. Like Eckhart Tolle, he was sitting on a park bench, and then boom, he was really depressed. He was about to kill himself, I believe. Ramakrishna, I believe he was about to kill himself when he had full enlightenment. So, Ishvara Pranidhanana, that's quite a mouthful. I can only say it because I'm a yoga teacher and I practice, so. Okay, karma, so tapaha, svadhyaya. So svadhyaya is study of the self. So, is there any guesses which one of these three schools come out you're in? Jnana, you got it. So this is svadhyaya. Now, I'm sure I spelled that wrong. Svadhyaya. I think I missed a couple of A's. That's the great thing about Sanskrit. It's got like a lot of A's and they all sound the same. Svadhyaya. So Svadhyaya is specifically inquiry into who am I. Concentration and contemplation on a mantra is considered Svadhyaya as well. Study of valid text, not just any text. Text written by an enlightened person would be considered valid. Is what's happened in the commercial yoga world, and I don't think I'm angry about it anymore, but I still maybe make fun of it a little bit. People will be like, anatomy people, including me, I'm an anatomy person, they'll be like, when you fold, feel how your knees feel. Do svadhyaya. So like that's not really Swadhyaya. It's taking a very deep concept, which is you're contemplating on who am I, not what does my knee feel, and if I'm locking my knee or straightening my knee or whatever. People turn it into postural analysis. It's not postural analysis. Postural analysis is fun way to make yoga poses safer. It's not deep self-inquiry on what is the nature of the soul. So that's just one of my little tangents. I probably offended someone on Facebook. But yeah, so Swadhyaya is specifically deeper inquiry, mantra, or study of a master teacher or one of the classical texts. And then we have karma. So tapaha is the last one. Tapaha, Swadhyaya, Ishwar, Pranidhanava, Kriya Yoga. First verse of the second chapter of the Yoga Sutras. So tapaha goes under action, since we already got the other two. Tapaha, or tapasya, kind of reminds you of like finger foods at a restaurant, tapas. So tapaha means to sweat, to put pressure on, to take on an austerity. So today, how long was the second meditation? Was it an hour or hour and 15? 1 hour. So 1 hour meditation, that can be considered tapasya. So, because it was hard. When we were doing Qigong today, after we'd done like that, 100 times, we had done some tapasya on the legs. So, tapasya, we chanted Hare Krishna for not very long actually, but we were getting there. So, you do chant Hare Krishna for an hour. That's tapasya. Do 12 sun salutations. Anything that you're applying pressure on yourself to bring transformation on the spiritual path, it's called tapasya. There's also a yoga mat company called tapas. So I'm using the different grammatical error changes, and I'm not that good at that, but we'll just say tapas, which is also tapaha, which is a different grammatical ending. I was on a phone call with a Swami Tapasananda the other day, so his name means bliss, undifferentiated bliss through austerity, in austerity. So he was talking about how he built a hut, and he lived in a hut in Ganges, because my name was Tapas, so I wanted to live in a hut. Okay, Tapaha sweat. So these are 3 words in the Yoga Sutras that relate to Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana Yoga. So these are pretty understandable for anybody, right? You've got, you do challenging things to bring spiritual transformation, tapasya. You do self-study to learn more about who am I, what is the nature of the soul inside of me. That's Jnana Yoga. And then you give it all to God. There's not, in the Yoga Sutras, it doesn't give any other rules. It doesn't say it needs to be this God or it needs to be that God, although some sectarians will try to say because it's Ishvara, it means this, but no, many people would disagree with that. I disagree with that. It can mean goddess, it can mean God, it can mean many gods. But, so there's a lot of openness in the Yoga Sutras about how this can be turned into your life, how you can manifest this in your culture in the present moment. So that's why the Yoga Sutras are so cool, because they give these sort of universal keys of human behavior and human consciousness, and then they say, and then you deal with it in the present tense. So that might be your present tense of who your teacher becomes, because we're all here in America at this time, and so then we have what shows up here. Or if you're in another culture, it would show up there, but the Yoga Sutras will still be relevant because they're universal teachings, which is why I'm a Yoga Sutra lover and Yoga Sutra geek. Okay, so we can say Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana Yoga are very loosely touched upon in the Yoga Sutras, so we're not going to say that they're text. We're not going to say it's a primary text. But, okay. Down there, way over there, we have Raja. So Raja, do you remember Raja Rani? It was a restaurant in Ann Arbor. Yeah, Raja means royal. King means king. So Raja Yoga is the king, the king of yogas, as they call it. And people say that it directly relates to the Yoga Sutras. Why? So this is, it's a lot of stuff here. But the Yoga Sutras explain the stages of meditation, the process of meditation, the lifestyle that you need to get into a meditative state. And all of that is contained in what's called Raja Yoga. So basically, you could say in the yoga system, Raja Yoga is meditation. Some people say that it's the spine, the royal road of the spine, because a lot of yogis meditate on the spine, up and down the spine, tracing the spine. So let's jump over to these other two categories. Ding, 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 Jeopardy. Okay, does anybody, okay, so Hatha Yoga is like physical poses, right? So people will be like, I went to an Iyengar yoga class. Well, Iyengar yoga is just an opinion on Hatha Yoga. I went to an Ashtanga Vinyasa class. That's just an opinion on Hatha Yoga, or an approach to Hatha Yoga. I went to, like, all of these kinds of modern pop yogas, like, some people will say, like, Hatha Yoga, like, I went to a Hatha class, but that just means that they're not trying to, like, they haven't, like, rebranded it as much. Or, like, Shivananda, they do Hatha Yoga in Shivananda. Or Integral Yoga, they do Hatha Yoga. Does this make sense? Yeah? Okay, so it's all Hatha Yoga. It's all Hatha Yoga. Hatha, does anyone know what Hatha translates as?
Ashley knows.
She does, yeah.
I can tell her.
Okay, Hatha translates to. Oh, where's translations? This is one common translation. Another translation means to force. But they're not talking about forcing into a forward fold. They're talking about forcing your consciousness into superconsciousness. They're not talking about hyperextending your knee. That's another one of the like everybody takes the mystic yoga teachings and they try to turn it into the physical body. And then they sell it. Cha-cha-cha-ching. All right. So sun and moon is referring to the masculine and feminine, Shiva Shakti, the left and the right side of your body. And the whole like male-female thing, it's just personification, right? So humans we often relate things to humans, right? So saying that the sun is like masculine or male, and the moon is like female, it's what we call personification. So the river is female or the mountain is masculine. Now the funny thing was we were asking our baby, this is when she was really small and she first started talking, and she was like, Dad is a boy. We're like, what's mama? Mama's a girl. What's a dog? Dog is a boy. What's a cat? Cat is a girl. and we were like asking her all these things just to see her, like, she sees us, but fairly unconditioned, It was really funny because it was like all the stereotypes were there. And we were asking her all, we're like, are you sure that a dog is a boy? Dogs are boys. Cats are girls. So yeah, personification though. So we've got it's really heating, cooling, we could say, to take the gender dynamic out of it, especially since that's become complicated in our society these days. But heating and cooling. And it's the left and the right side of the body. And the whole process of the physical yoga postures and the breath work is to balance these channels, which meet at the tip of our nose. so that they're not too excessive one way or the other. And then when you get the central channel open is when you can go into deep meditation and move towards the enlightened state. So it's working with balancing the physical body through diet, food, cleansing, breath work, and meditation. It's a very complete system, and it's awesome. So, Hatha Yoga. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is the text on Hatha Yoga. I think I spelled that right. I'm not sure. Hatha Yoga Pradipika. There's a couple primary texts. There's also, because I'm giving people homework, of anyone who is following this online, the Shiva Samhita and the Grahendra Samhita, Yoga Yajnavalkya are the other major texts on yoga. Yoga Yajnavalkya is really ancient. There's an argument about how old physical yoga is. Won't get into that now. But Hatha Yoga Pradipika means light on Hatha Yoga. So just shining light on the teachings of Hatha Yoga. I did an online course on it, which I was very happy with, about a year ago. I offered the class. And in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it says over and over again, Hatha Yoga is preparation for Raja Yoga. So, and what is Raja Yoga? It's a royal yoga, but it's also meditation. So Raja, the literal translation is royal, and then, but it's also meditation. Do you guys ever spell meditation and it turns into mediation on your computer? But meditation is mediation for your own inner garbage. Because we need a mediator. The breath mediates the mind. So Hatha Yoga, the whole physical system, is to get the body ready. And there's literally, like I said, extensive cleansing techniques, extensive dietary recommendations, extensive physical postures, extensive breath work to balance hot, cold. It's a whole, as they say, quote unquote, science. But I could say, instead of saying science, we could say it's a that word's not coming to me. Detailed methodology. That wasn't still the word I was looking for. Royal. Okay. So in the Yoga Sutras, when we think of Hatha Yoga, we think of yoga poses, right? Asanas. The word is used, I think, two times, but it's discussed in 3 verses. And it says that the seat, the asana, the pose, should be comfortable and stable, and you should be able to enter into super consciousness in it. So it doesn't say that you should be able to put your toe in your nose and your head. It doesn't say any of that. It says that you need to have stable seat. So the word asana also just means seat, floor, like you sit. So any comfortable way that you can sit to be comfortable. So that's what it says about Hatha Yoga. Now, there's other things that are crossovers, but we don't have time to go into all the crossovers between the Yoga Sutras and the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. But the Raja Yoga, the whole Yoga Sutra, it's talking about meditation, the stages of samadhi, which means super consciousness. Some of you probably had minor states of samadhi as defined in the Yoga Sutras, just when you have concentration for 5 seconds. If you had concentration on your breath for 5 seconds, and you could even still have a little bit of thoughts, but they would just be in the background. So the first stages of samadhi are not that hard to get into. The advanced stages of samadhi, where you permanently don't have thought waves, or the thought wave is controllable when you do have one, that's very rare, very rare. But we won't get too into that. But yeah, the whole Yoga Sutras are all about Raja Yoga. So what should I put there? I'll put all about it. We'll say, see Yoga Sutra. So I did a Facebook Live yesterday, and I was talking about the yoga teacher training, and I was talking about the philosophy section, and I said that the Yoga Sutras are like they shed light on the path so that you're not just walking around in the dark. And when people don't know about these kinds of teachings, that they're often walking in the dark on their path of yoga. An old friend of mine, she wrote, "I like walking in the dark." And there's that. There is that. I was probably stating it in divisive language of how important it is, because like ultimately you don't really need all the theory. You really do need to practice. But when you understand the stages and the method of practice, it empowers you a lot, and it especially empowers you if you end up with a bad teacher. So as someone who spent a little while following a bad yoga teacher, like a very famous bad yoga teacher, the Yoga Sutras were one of the things that helped me get out. Because I was like, what the heck is this guy teaching? Like, it didn't make sense to anybody. And, you know, like in this organization, Winnie's an excellent teacher. Master C. Cloud is a very good teacher. Everything they teach is in alignment with all this stuff. And then you've got the whole, like, in-depth Buddhist thing as well. But some people, they'll be teaching these meditation techniques, and it's like, what? Why are you doing that? And what's the goal? And it's just kind of like, yeah, I could go on and on about the distractions in the marketplace and all that, but we don't need to do that now. So, but yes, the Yoga Sutras are very good for helping us to understand the path. So we'll say for right here, we'll just put that the asanas, asana, yoga asana poses. All right. How's the chart going along? Is this too stimulating for the nighttime? Okay.
We need a burst of color.
Okay. Then it's just going to look crazy. We'll put the gurus in red, the gurus in major schools when we get there. Okay, so back to Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana Yoga. There is just some of the primary texts. Okay, here's a chance to do homework. Facebook yoga teachers. I put on the Facebook post, all yoga teachers should watch this video. So now I have to live up to my marketing tactic there. So the Yoga Sutras. Okay, so Bhakti Yoga. Primary text on, there's a lot. I couldn't fit all of them into the box. But the Bhagavad Gita is a big one. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a big one for a specific school. One of the big important ones that I've been really digging into is the Bhakti Sutras. They're great. I like them. I like sutras. I like the old Hindu sutras. At least I like the Yoga Sutras and the Bhakti Sutras. They're great. Sutra means a concise phrase. Now it's a little bit different in Buddhism. There's like the sutras become bigger and they're more complex, and there's a lot. And I'm not qualified to speak on that subject. But within the yoga system, Hinduism and the yoga system, there are these very grammatically potent words. So they're supposed to be really easy for chanting because people pass them down verbally for a long time before they were written. And so each syllable of every word has a whole ton of meaning. So it's very grammatically profound, as my teacher used to say. Grammatically profound, which is why it's stuck around for thousands of years, because they're just really cool the way the sutras are written. All right, so the Bhakti Sutras, Srimad Bhagavatam, For Shakti worshippers, people who worship the goddess, you have the Devi Mahatmaya and the Devi Gita and the Devi Srimad Devi, I'm forgetting the whole name of it. That's the big one. So, and then you have a lot of the tantric text relates to devotional practices and the goddess. And within the tantric text, actually the Hatha Yoga system comes out of tantric text as well. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, under Hatha Yoga, is considered a tantric text. And a lot of the goddess texts where they talk about devotion to Shakti, worship of Shakti, they'll talk about yoga processes, breathing. Some of the stuff Matu is teaching today, breathing through your spine, squeezing certain things, bringing your tongue back into your lock. Okay. While we're on the topic of Matu's class, Swami Satchitananda, who was the guru that opened Woodstock, he was late, so he didn't actually open it. I think a couple of bands had gone, but then he showed up and he gave his blessings and said how nice it was to see the youth of America celebrating arts and culture. And they flew him in a helicopter, and then they flew him out again. So he says, Swami Satchitananda says, Tai Chi is yoga. He's like, it's the same. As far as he's concerned, it's the same thing. And it's different, but it is, it's kind of true what he says. There's, some of the stuff Matu was doing, he was calling me Chaitanya. I don't know if you guys got that. That's my other name. But, I was doing the empty coat sleeves. People do that in yoga, and then the squats. You'll see people do kind of like horse stance. People do that in yoga. Now there's specific things in Tai Chi and Qigong that you don't find in yoga, but once you get into a lot of varieties of yoga schools, there's a lot of crossover with how the exercises are done. And the whole process of the energy, Qi and Prana, are the Chinese and Sanskrit word for life force. And so they're both working on life force, and they're both working towards this enlightened and expanded state. So when Matu was here, I heard the teaching of Swami Satchitananda, Tai Chi is yoga. So I forgot why I was talking about that. Oh yeah, so we last night I said we were going to go on a journey, and we were going to be in the present moment with all these things. And the whole Qigong experience is this energy cultivation, just like we did in the morning, where we're cultivating our energy. So it's kind of like we're doing, we could say generally, it's not specifically Hatha Yoga, but we're doing physical yoga poses to prepare for Raja Yoga. Now this stuff, Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana, this is your lifestyle. And if your devotional attitude, your karma yoga, you're not all worked up about your opinions and holding on to things and getting triggered all the time, okay, I do, but I'm detached from the outcome, or if you're doing good self-inquiry, it makes it so much better when you sit down and meditate, right? Because you've got your mind in the right spot. And if your mind's not in the right spot, then you can get in a lot of trouble, or you won't get very far in your meditation practice. You have to have ethical and moral practices, which all of these systems, they all explain the same ethical and moral practices, which are pretty much the same in all of the major world religions. They all say, don't be a jerk. But people are jerks anyways, but that's not the religion's fault or the teaching's fault. It's people's inability to live it to its fullest. Okay, so karma yoga. The big text is the Bhagavad Gita, and honestly, I don't really know too much else there. Okay, so Jnana Yoga. All right, Kamakshi. What are the primary texts?
Oh, gosh. Well, the Upanishads.
Upanishads.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job. The big one, which is not very popular, and it's very important in India, and I understand why my teacher, it's a long story about why my teacher had me read that book. My other not teacher who connected me with him, she was all like, he has to study this specific thing. And so then my teacher thought, okay, well, we should do the Vedanta Sutras. They're called the Vedanta Sutras. And I love sutra study, and I love all this stuff, but it is so Indian cultural, it's really hard to get the significance of it. Because it's all about arguments about all the text. So it's basically like reading arguments. And I don't mind the arguments, that's interesting, but it's just that it's like, because this Upanishad said this, and because the Bhagavad Gita said this, and because this sutra said this, and then we have to prove it through this kind of logic. It just was like a lot. So it's big in the Jnana Yoga community in India and in Asia, but not so much in America. But the Upanishads, because they're more like universal philosophical teachings, are very big. So in the Jnana, we've got Vedanta, Sutras, and Upanishads. So Upanishads are philosophical books that were part of the Vedas. They're very, very, very old, and they're interesting. A couple of them are a little bit harder to access, but some of them are very accessible to Westerners. I'm not an expert in all of them, but I've studied some of them, the smaller ones. So, jnana, self-inquiry. I didn't write down all of the Bhakti things because there's the Puranas, there's all the Tantric texts. It's like the Bible, the Quran, the Old Testament, you put those in. Any like kind of religious text that points to a devotional slant could be considered a bhakti. All right. We're filling in this chart here. Major gurus and major schools. I don't know if I want to write all that down. So, in bhakti, have you guys ever heard of the hugging guru? She comes from Michigan. Alma. She's still alive. She's a big bhakti person. We have Hare Krishnas. They are very much so bhakti school, but they also practice karma yoga quite intensely, and they have their own form of jnana yoga because they're not doing like self-inquiry like non-dualists do, but they study like really hardcore. They're very impressive about their book study. Hare Krishna is called Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is a dualistic school. They have a little bit of evangelical fervor. You'll find them on the streets, as you guys know, which is hard for some of us, but it's what they do. It's kind of like the Christians out on the streets. And then there's a Ramakrishna mission, who teaches forms of bhakti. I'll just put Rama Krishna. Mission. A little bit more liberal than the Hare Krishnas, I would say, in their theological view. Shivananda, so we had, right there, we had Swami Shankarananda, who is here, and he's part of the Shivananda lineage. And they're also, they're non-dualists, but they practice Jnana Yoga. They practice the synthesis of all yogas, which I like. Satchidananda, who's at Woodstock, he practiced the synthesis of all yogas as well, of these yogas, because there's even more that they're not synthesizing. Karma yoga, all yoga schools are practicing karma yoga, because we're all doing karma. We're all, so everybody, A-L-L. Now in a lot of the like modern Hatha yoga schools, they don't really have an active karma yoga mission, but that's just the market, market-driven yoga. Jnana, we have Ramakrishna mission again, and then Amma makes it over. They've got the Jnana Yoga, and within their teachings, there's a lot of what they call contemporary, or what do they call them, neo-Vedantins, where people who are practicing modern self-inquiry techniques, where they're not necessarily so Indian or so Hindu. They could be an Indian, but they're still not. It's not like much in the cultural tradition. Like Ramesh Balsakar, he was Indian, but very sort of beyond the trappings. But Adyashanti, Katie Byron. So,
Which is the most important one.
Hatha Yoga?
No,
Jnana. Oh, Ramana Maharishi. So there's all these people's names. I'm not going to write all these names down. YouTube audience, sorry. No one will probably watch this far in, but if they do, you could take notes on all those things. And so any other big Jnana schools out there? Chinmaya Mission, which is on Packard in Ann Arbor. It's a Hindu temple. They practice Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, Brahmas, aka Vedanta Sutras, in a very classical Indian way. I like Byron Katie. I've never actually studied her stuff, but I just like her basic thing. I don't know if you've got it memorized, but her thing is to ask yourself these questions when you're having a hard time. Do you know it's true? So just to get really loaded, a friend of mine, her boyfriend was like, get the vaccine or die, or like you're a jerk. And then she was kind of neutral on it. She was like, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to do it or not. So she said, we got out the Byron Katie. and she's like, it really helps to so do you know it's true? And then the second one is, do you really totally, completely know that it's true? And then who would you be if you didn't have that idea? Can you pull it up? Can you type it in so I can read it? It's really quite clever. And you can see how it kind of deconstructs all of the, if you apply it to anything that you're feeling triggered about, it does a really good job of deconditioning you through inquiry. So yeah, she's a good one, even though I haven't looked at her work. I've heard good things. Hatha Yoga, like I was saying, there's so many Hatha Yoga teachers these days. There's millions of Hatha Yoga teachers these days. But as far as major people, you got Shivananda, Iyengar, Pattabhi Joyce, who taught the Ashtanga system. Why is my brain going blank? Because I've been talking for an hour. So yeah, there's all the physical yoga stuff. There's tons of it. And then Raja Yoga relates a lot back to some of these other schools as well. So you find it in, the Ramakrishna mission has their own view on the Yoga Sutras. The Bhakti people, Hare Krishnas and stuff like that, they actually don't get so much into the Raja Yoga thing because they're doing devotional practices. They chant all the time. One second. So when people get really hardcore into the Bhakti thing, they don't really meditate. They just sing. They sing, they dance. Like Ram Das and Krishna Das, they actually fuse Bhakti with, you guys know who Ram Das is? Yeah. So he fuses, they do the chanting and the kirtan, but they also do seated meditation. So a lot of the people who come to the kirtans that we do here are under the influence of those teachings where meditation, but chanting, devotion, and Raja Yoga. Take it away, Kamakshi.
4 questions. Is it true? Second one, can you absolutely know that it's true? And no, you can't. The third one is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And who would you be without that thought? It does diffuse a lot. So. Yeah,
if you're willing to be honest.
Yeah.
Which, really can confront us because we get very, very bound about our opinions. But that's what Jnana Yoga is for. So like a bhakti yogi, for them to get like fanatical about an opinion, yeah, that's to be expected. Jnana yogi, no, bad jnani. You have wandered from the path if you've gotten really worked up about an opinion. Okay, so hopefully that was thoroughly overwhelming. For some of you, it was probably mostly a review. Kamachi's like, I could have taught that class better than him. No, just joking. So, I guess we could say it's like a little bit of a Jeopardy overview of the branches of yoga, how they relate to the Yoga Sutras, which primary texts relate to them, and then major schools. So on the inspirational side of this, now that we've been in our head on this topic, so our karma brings us to a path that is in alignment with our disposition. So we seek for something, and then eventually we need to settle in to a practice. And sometimes there's crossover, so you can kind of float around in communities. But these things are disposition. The beautiful thing about the yoga system is that it's so open and flexible. So it's not so much that you have to be any one of these things that like, do you have to be all those things, or it's like you just be you. And then there's a way to spiritualize your life based upon your life phase and your goals. So if you've got kids and a job, you're not living as a monastic, so you're not going to be doing practice all day, every day. So, not to say that monastics don't do karma yoga all day, because they do in a very intense way, but for a householder, focusing on karma yoga is super important so that you can spiritualize your activities. Focusing on how you relate to your emotional triggers. And I'm not talking so much from a Western psychological place, although that can be useful. It's got its wheelhouse. But doing deeper inquiry work and doing prayer and surrender. We can bring those to our life. But you can do one more than the other. That's the beautiful thing. You don't have to do physical yoga. A lot of the greatest yogis that have come out of India were not physical. They didn't do physical practices. They didn't do, inhale up, exhale, fold, pump your navel, put your tongue out. They didn't do all that. They would maybe just be doing bhakti yoga. They would just be singing all the time. Or maybe they would be just doing like really radical self-inquiry that caused a breakthrough. So with this, it's this beautiful thing in that we can draw on these different things based upon our nature and our interest. If we like the physical body, if we like the meditation, and then go deep. So that's the beauty and the joy of the yoga system. And with that, I think we should do a little bit of chanting to kind of close things out. Thank you all for listening to my long-winded memory. Thank all of these mental impressions I've stored in my brain. Thank you for listening. I hope it's of use to you all in your yoga path. This weekend we did Hatha Yoga, we've done Bhakti Yoga, through the chanting, Mantra Yoga, which is another then eventually I'll cut through and we'll chant Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, offering this practice and this study for the benefit of all beings in all times and places. Inhale to chant Om at your own breath cycle. of the practices we've done today in this room be a benefit to all. May all be happy and with food and safe. This is Om, that is Om, everything is the all-pervasive Om. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you all. Namaste. So we'll be back here in the morning, 6:30 a.m. And we'll do some yoga and meditation. What's that? Which one? For Pradipika? Pradipika?